Or we go like there, I want to make sure everybody uses the microphone less. People can't hear, sometimes it will not out, maybe just sort of keep that all going. Everybody here, like that okay? Great enough. Okay. So I will call the meeting to order, please, and we'll let you approval of the agenda. By Jerry, by Debbie, any questions, comments on it? All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Any conflict with pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Showing none. And I look for the approval of the minutes of October 4th, 2021 Stoneville regular council meeting. Moved by Linda, second by Kevin. Any of the meeting, anybody wants to bring any attention? If not, motion to approve. Carried. Delegation, deputations, presentations, bylaws, and resolutions. Jason, do you want to come up to the, we'll keep you there busy for a little while.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first set of bylaws that are on the meeting this evening, there's 5 of them. Carey, Cowan, McNichols, Leahy, and Hayes are all bylaws to establish a public highway. They're very similar to what we had at the, I believe it's 2 council meetings ago, where we considered multiple bylaws at the same time. If you'd like me to run through individually, I'm happy to. If you'd like to consider them all, it's up to you for direction for each one.
Anybody have any questions on any particular one? If not, can we just have a resolution to give first, second, third reading on all that?
I'll move them all. They're just simple road widenings for the land on the roads.
First, second, Linda? Any questions on any of them? All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thanks, Jason. We'll go to the next one, staff reports, manager planning, site plan control agreement. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Reed Smith. I apologize on that former overview. I should have provided you with an explanation as to what the bylaws was for. As Councilor Davidson mentioned, it's a widening in which we've already received, which is declaring as well highway. Sorry for that. Item before us at this juncture is an application for site plan control. Aspen Dunhill Properties Limited is on the ground what many would refer to as free flow petroleum in Newburgh at the intersection of Main Street and County Road 1. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the existing gas station, upgrade the existing pumps, replacing from 2 to 3, also replace all the underground infrastructure, the steel tanks, fiberglass double wall tanks, and improve the functionality of that property. There's been significant effort from a technical review perspective that has gone into this file over several months, and the reason for is that better? Sorry, guys. Sorry, Council. The reason for the amount of time associated with the technical review is in the future, I believe summer of 2022, the county is looking at reconstructing that intersection on County Road 1. So understanding how the stormwater management perspective will work on the subject property and tie into the future development of the storm infrastructure in the right-of-way has posed some challenges. And that has been ironed out with Greer Galloway and county staff. We've also included within this agreement a cost estimate to detail the costs of on-site works and concluded that the proponent as well as the county are successfully entering into a cost sharing mechanism to ensure that 50% of the costs will be borne by the applicant and 50% by the county. understanding that a portion will be on municipal or county-owned lands, and a portion of that will be on private lands. The agreement seeks to be registered on title, improve the functionality of the property, bring in AODA compliance with respect to accessibility, access, relocate the entrance location for better sight lines and visibility out onto the public realm, as well as increase the aesthetics of that property. In the opinion of staff, this is a very well-suited project for this property. There's been very good detail and thought that has gone into the layout, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have as it relates to the project.
Any questions? Any questions for Jason on this? Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, just one, Jason, when I was looking at it here, and I'm probably going to use the wrong phrase here, but the catch basin for oil or gas, leakage or something, and are they going to go with that? I read something about it there, and I just wasn't sure whether that was going to be involved in it or not.
Thank you. Great question, Councillor Richmond. Technical term, oil grit separator is the Conservation Authority, County Conservation is very supportive for inclusion of that piece of infrastructure, and yes, it's absolutely being accommodated on the plans. And believe it or not, that's the one piece of infrastructure that there's going to be a meter of fall or difference in grade. It's buried subsurface, but when they connect in with the new infrastructure for County Road 1, there'll be a meter difference between then and now, now and post-construction. So there's going to need to be some alterations done post-construction to ensure that that does function properly, and that's been incorporated in the agreement.
Yes, so in this day and age when we're supposed to be going towards electric vehicles by 2030, I'm curious why this company is going to spend so much money putting in for gas, whatever they are, sorry. And are they going to be putting in an electric charging station?
Through you, Councillor, or Your Worship, great question. I do not know the intricacies of the finances of the company. That said, it's my understanding that they foresee a need or a desire to upgrade this facility for the lifespan of petroleum sales in this specific location. On this site plan, there is not a dedicated area for electric charging stations, just based on the limitations of the site. You can see the parking that's proposed around the perimeter of the building, as well as the perimeter of the site on the south side. All of that is needed to accommodate the parking ratios for the size of the plaza to meet our current zoning requirements. So if there was a proposal to remove that parking to accommodate additional charging stations or pumps, there would be a need for either community adjustment approval through a minor variance and/or council approval through a zoning amendment. This proposal actually satisfies all the criteria that we prescribe in our zoning bylaw for parking, access, pumps, etc.
Okay, Wenda? Anything else? No.
No.
Anybody else have anything on this? If not, we have a recommendation from it, moved by Doug, second by Sherry. All in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thanks, Jason. Your next one is the update on Verde Lake Road in Lou.
Thank you, Your Worship. This item, I believe, was tasked to myself the second day I arrived, and I'm still not nearly through it. So I'm providing an update at this juncture. Unfortunately, it's not an update to say that it's concluded, but it's an update to say that we're moving in the right direction. As of last Thursday, we received final confirmation from all abutting property owners of the road in lieu, we'll call it Verde Lake Road in lieu, of no objection for the municipal legal counsel to advance with the registry non-converts, and what that in English terminology means. None of these parcels that abut that road in lieu have transferred or been sold in the recent, in the near or the past, near future. So for that reason, there needs to be a change in their title to ensure that it's compatible with the new land registry system. So our legal counsel is currently working on an agreement to have in place and signed by all these abutting property owners to make that transfer occur before we can have the road surveyed and deeded as into a municipal entity from what could be private ownership. I can say that it's been a long time getting to this stage, and I know there's individuals in the community who are frustrated, staff are frustrated, and we are working expeditiously to ensure that there's no cost borne by our ratepayers in this area, and to, in an attempt, recognizing the LNA Ridge Runner Club is quickly approaching, likely with the snow upon us, that there's an attempt and a hope that we'll have this rectified before yet another land use permit is required, LUP, from the Ridge Runner Club to private property owner. So the update is that we're working on it. CAO Brooks and I believe that it was best to include on this evening's agenda for information purposes, as I believe some members of council maybe have seen communications and others may have not. So that's, from a staff perspective, the update to date. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
Yes, thank you. So just to clarify, Jason, what is it that the landowners have agreed to at this point?
They've agreed to a draft agreement that was provided to take all properties from the old paper system, which is the registry non-convert system, to upgrade or change any legal descriptions that the land registry office may require in advance of transferring any land from one to a public authority.
So how long will that process take if there's no unforeseen obstacle?
Through you, at this point, I'm reluctant to put a time frame to it.
You've done this, you say, quite a while, anyway. Go ahead, Kevin.
Excuse me, but I don't know, what is it, Jason, that is it deemed like a private road down there now, and we're trying to make it a public municipal road? Or what is the issue? I don't remember seeing this, but.
Great question. Sorry, Councillor Richmond, I should have provided a more fulsome review as to what we're proposing. There's a road allowance that runs north-south from Bethel Road, and it essentially is at the western end of Varvey Lake. And to navigate around the terminus of Varvey Lake, it doesn't follow conventional lot and concession lines. So typically your unopened municipal road allowances run 90 degrees, north, south, east, west, and this specific road in lieu transfers or transgresses around the terminus of the lake because of the natural feature. And there has been historic confusion, for lack of better terminology, as to the ownership of this piece of land. It's been accessed via members of the community on the assumption that it is an unmaintained municipal road allowance. It's been utilized by the Ridge Runners trail system on the assumption that it was a municipal unmaintained road allowance. And there is concern from neighboring property owners that if it's not clearly delineated as a municipal road allowance, then it could then thereby fall upon themselves as private property owners from a liability concern perspective. There's a lack of survey, there's a lack of legal description based on age. We're dating back to like the 1880s, 1850s, in that time frame. So to ensure that it's done properly, we would want to be able to refer to it on a new reference plan, a new survey, and have a specific deed to it, to the municipality, to ensure it's not privately owned. It sounds very easy. And unfortunately, it's taken several months, but years at this point. But that, in short, is what the attempt of the municipality is, and the attempt is that there's no financial or fiduciary responsibilities borne by any of the neighboring property owners who abut this piece of land, as the municipality is of the understanding that it's a municipal road allowance that does connect to the north and south around the terminus of the lake.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, Jason, there's a second part to that road allowance or forest road allowance or whatever the description was, and that was the original road allowance that happens to be to the east of that. And sits, I would take it now, wholly within one particular landowner. Has that been solved or clarified?
Through you, your worship, great question, Councillor Davison. It is, as you mentioned, solely bisecting one property owner's landholding, and communications between the municipality and the landholding, the owners, are at a point of unsure as to whether or not there's a desire to close that former abandoned, if we will, road allowance, due to the fact that it would essentially result in a merging of the two separately conveyable parcels into one parcel, or leave that abandoned road allowance, even though that it terminates at a water, for the sole purpose of ensuring they're separately conveyable parcels. It's the municipality's position at this juncture that we sort out the road in lieu as our primary focus, and have that conversation with the property owner should they choose, at their desire. And the opinion of staff would be, should that wish to be stopped up and closed, that they proceed to council through deputation in the same form as any other individual. But like I mentioned, that conversation or communication is open, it's ongoing, but the focus is try to direct to the road in lieu. Thanks.
Any other comments? I'm looking for a motion to receive the report. Linda, Debbie, all in favor? Carried. Ruchon, Council, Stone Mills, Township Council Payable, September 2021.
So what you have in front of you is the September 2021. I don't currently have anything to draw to your attention.
Anybody have any questions for Christina? If not, I have a motion to receive or pay the bill that can speak. Sherry, second by Debbie. All in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you.
CEO Brooks, draft mandatory vaccination policy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you this evening is a draft mandatory vaccination policy for council's consideration. I apologize for this being a late addition to the agenda, but we received a courtesy email from our solicitor earlier this afternoon, which allowed for this to proceed on tonight's agenda. The important part that I would like to bring to council's attention with regards to discussion of the October 4th council meeting is the italicized version in the recommendation, highlighting the occupational health and safety requires employers to take every precaution reasonable in the circumstances for the protection of the worker. In the context of a pandemic, with COVID-19 being a highly transmissible disease that can cause serious long-term harm and even death, This obligation includes taking precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. If an employer can demonstrate that a mandatory vaccination policy is a reasonable and justifiable component of its occupational health and safety strategy, and in most cases it will be, then employment can be conditional on compliance, provided that exceptions are made for medical exemptions and human rights code accommodations. In addition, as long as the policy allows sufficient time for employees to be vaccinated, it's likely that any resulting terminations of employment for non-compliance could be for cause. Non-compliance with the policy, again, subject to the exceptions of medical exemptions and code accommodations, would amount to willful misconduct, or willful misconduct is just cause for dismissal. That is the direction we received from the Township's legal team. The policy that you have before you this evening takes those matters into consideration. It looks for mandatory vaccination status, double shot, to be done by December 15th, which allows almost 2 months for compliance. It also asks for the status of vaccination to be submitted by November 15th. In the event that an employee does not comply by December 15th, they would go on unpaid leave for 30 days, and at which time, if they're still not vaccinated, they would then be considered to be dismissed. So it is important through the correspondence to highlight for council that this matter has not had court precedent or been challenged in the court of law. So normally a solicitor, as part of their opinion, would provide legal reference to a precedent set in case. There is not one that has been determined in the court of law as of yet. So there is a certain amount of associated risk that could come with that should an individual choose to challenge and be successful. So if there's any questions with regards to the policy, if there's any highlights as to how we intend to deal with a certain matter, I'd be happy to address any questions from council.
Any questions, anybody? Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, there's a section in here that talks about responsibilities, and it talks about responsibility of administration of this policy to ensure employees complete any required education or training available. Can you elaborate on that? What education or training that we will be supplying?
So the intent is, Councillor Davis, and that if an individual by November 15th provides confirmation that they're not vaccinated and intends that they're not to be vaccinated, it would be the intent for the municipality to provide the same training as discussed in the previous draft policy from HR downloads, which essentially provides the training, which is, why mass vaccination is required, what are the benefits of it, etc. So there is that same education course that's available to staff members in hopes that by December 15th, they would work towards compliance of double vaccination or single, if that was the series option that they had.
Okay, with that, Doug?
Yes.
Anybody? Go ahead, Kevin.
Brian, I haven't read it all through, to be honest with you. I didn't get a chance to do that. But I did notice something about the volunteer fire department, full-time, part-time people. Is this encompassing everybody, volunteers and such? Or how's that work?
Yes, through your worship, this policy has a definition of employee, and that employee is council, staff, committee or board member, full part-time staff members, student, both cooperative learning and student employees, and volunteers, which also include volunteer firefighters. So it is an inclusive policy. It actually also makes reference to the requirement for contractors that are working inside our facilities or on our premises to also have double vaccination status as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I guess I'm glad to see this here come up and be forward here and we can deal with it. I'm just going to ask Brian one question here. This is a draft policy. If council wanted to, could we pass this tonight?
Your worship, this has been drafted as a deferred item from the October 4th council meeting. It's in draft form this evening with the dates associated, being that by November 15th, we would have to have a provision for first shot and December 15th for the second. So the dates associated with the draft policy are on the assumption that if council chose to adopt this evening, they could again, if they wanted to follow the steps of their previous council, as like the motion where they essentially provided notice to the employees that this was the intent, that would delay the dates, and subsequently we would change those to accommodate that notice period by however long it took. The reason it's on the agenda this evening in draft form ready for adoption was at the October 4th council meeting, there was discussions that the November 1st may have limited attendance with some council members as well as staff, and so therefore they would at least have knowledge of the policy that was being presented if they were absent.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Sherry.
I just wonder if this is similar to the policies of other municipalities.
So there are two municipalities specifically that were used for framework. This is in generalities, it's very similar to that of Coney West. The template, so to speak, was utilized as Coney West policy. Hastings County, City of Kingston, they have also taken vaccine mandates as an absolute as well. So a lot of the smaller municipalities have refrained from that and had an optional policy similar to the first draft that was presented to council. But those are the three most local municipalities that have taken the vaccine mandate for their staff and their premises.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Could I make a motion to move forward with this so we can get going with it?
I'm gonna need a second. Second by John. Any more questions, comments before we? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I don't think by any means we're rushing into this. I know it just arrived today. It's pretty straightforward and simple. I can't imagine that there's any flaw in this. If it needs tweaking, we can certainly amend it. And I think in fairness to the employees, given the fact that maybe we won't have everyone here on the first, pretty well got to pass it tonight if we're going to meet these deadline dates. So I'm certainly in support of the motion.
Anybody else have anything to say? With that being said, and everybody in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thanks for the report, Brian. I see Jake, you again. I see you here tonight there. Have you got anything to report tonight? I see you're here at the meeting and nothing, okay, good enough. I just thought I'd ask you. Okay, any new business or statements from members? Okay, we're going to go to John and we're going to go to Sherry.
Well, I'm not going to let Jake off that easy. I'm just wondering, is there any progress in discussions about the Camden East parquet, Jake? I thought you were going to have something saying, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe that's for November 1st. Yeah.
Jason, you want to talk to, or you got any other?
I think it's, yeah, at this moment, the landscape architect is still working on the drawing, and he's still working on the cost estimate as to what this is expected to cost the municipality. We did have a draft, and we went and we met.
Yeah, we met with the architect once, and he had a few different drafts of the plan, and we met with Public Works Supervisor Thompson and Jason Sands as well as I, and we came to the conclusion of what plan we wanted to work with and move forward with, and we've been tweaking that. So we've had several meetings on site, and it's just in progress. The final draft is not yet available.
Okay, thanks. So at this point, is it realistic to expect we can get anything done this fall, or are we looking now at spring for doing the actual work?
Truthfully, Public Works Manager Thompson would be best to answer that, but we're still hopeful that there's prep work that can be done this fall in light of planting. Not that'll be spring, but prep work with respect to removing gravels and bringing in site material
prepping the brickwork that is anticipated to be needed, as well as some of the materials and sourcing that could be done or is anticipated to be done this fall. But in terms of on the ground planting is first, no. Spring.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks very much.
Sherry, you have something?
I just wanted to mention that I had the pleasure of helping out at the Hollow Square Market on Saturday afternoon in Newburgh. And I just wanted to say what a fantastic group they were to work with, community-minded folks. And it was just amazing, very well run. Yeah, just wanted to mention that. They've done a great job.
Debbie, you have something?
Yeah, I was just wondering, maybe Brian or Jake could answer this. We're starting to hear comments of when our municipal halls are going to be open and when we can get in and use it. And then I guess my personal question is, will it become a budget item? Who governs when we can open? And with extra staffing be needed, and that will incur some extra costs. So either Brian or Jake.
Go ahead, Jake, you're at the microphone.
Yeah, the complication right now is that anyone entering our hall is supposed to be double vaccinated, or supposed to be, right now, basically staffing somebody to be there to watch and basically screen at the entrance of our halls to see if they're double vaccinated. And if we're renting it out for a birthday party or something like that, it's just really difficult for the municipality at this point in time to figure out. We're gonna have to figure out how to do that. Right now at our arena, we have hired a second student for every shift. With hopefully, we're planning on paying that through COVID funding that we have, and hopefully we get more COVID funding moving forward as the hockey season progresses. But that's kind of why our halls are widely rented right now.
Okay, then. Okay. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was just wondering, has a decision been made on the November 1st meeting? Just, I didn't know whether I knew we had some discussion on it, but I didn't know where we stood. So.
I understand we're having a meeting.
Traditionally, we have a meeting and if somebody told you out.
I think you and I are the only two, like you plan on this one. Yeah, so, yeah, no, I think we, that we,
Yeah, I'll share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still going. Okay.
Will we have a forum?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you don't come, we can't make it, let Brian know, and then he's got to cancel.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
As long as we get 4.
Yeah, you got it. Take it one way. Go ahead, Brian.
Just as a courtesy to that topic, the compliance coordinator, deputy chief, James Richmond, I don't believe is available for that meeting. CBO Detler, I believe, is here or away, is away. Public Works Manager Thompson and myself are all absent that evening, so it will be our treasurer and manager of development services carrying the reports. And
do whatever you want.
And we will.
We're going to reduce the size of council.
To that point, your worship, we'll prepare deputy clerk manager of development services or the treasurer to present any report that would be required in our absence.
Okay.
They're more than capable.
I'm just gonna say something, since you mentioned that, John. I was gonna bring up tonight that, I just was thinking on, and I look at other municipalities around, like around 40,000 people in LMA, we've got about 7, I don't know, north of it. Do we need 7 councilors going down the road? And that's what I just thought that if we could have some discussion on, maybe Brian didn't get information yet, because if we're not, we got a year to work on, that's all I'm saying. And, I just look at these big cities, so many council members, 25 or 30,000 people in there. Anyway, I think it's something I'd like to have a discussion on, maybe say, not next meeting, because people are talking about. But anyway, that are fair to everybody that, maybe Brian does a bit of work on a number of councils in different communities and have a discussion on it. Anyway, that's, just say something. Okay, we're gonna move on to the confirming bylaw. Confirmation bylaw by Debbie and Wenda. All in favor? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. Kevin, carried. All in favor? Okay, everybody stay safe and have a good Halloween.